Joining me now is the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Leader, thanks for being here. First, your top-line reaction to what the Attorney General wrote today of the Special Counsel's report.
Well, I just have to start. 22 months, $25 million, 40 FBI agents, 19 attorneys, 2,800 subpoenas. He had 500 witnesses. There has never been a more thorough, in-depth research that we've had from the American government, and without a shadow of doubt, it said no collusion. It's time for America to move forward. I don't care what side of the aisle you are, Republican, Democrat, Green Party, this is a good day for America. Russia tried to get involved in the campaign. The Trump campaign said no. So we should move forward, put the issues that we need to get done, continuing moving this economy, dealing with North Korea, making sure we get a China agreement, going forward instead of continuing down this drive what the Democrats have been trying to do. They wanted to impeach this president from the day he got elected. This should end the debate once and for all, and America should come first.
What about, Mr. Leader, the calls from Democrats that this full report from the special counsel make its way to Capitol Hill and to the American public?
Well, you're going to see from Attorney General Barr, he's going to put out everything legally that he can, as much transparency going forward. I give him credit to making sure as fast as he can get out the real question. Remember why this all started with a simple question: was there collusion? We now know no other organization, no committee would have as much unlimited resources, much subpoena power, or anything else to investigate this. They were thorough. Everybody looks at it and understands that, and it was no doubt no collusion. Now let's put the country first instead of politics.
Here's Speaker Pelosi and the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer releasing this statement. The fact that the special counsel Mueller's report does not exonerate the president on a charge as serious as obstruction of justice demonstrates how urgent it is that the full report and underlying documentation be made public without further delay. Given Mr. Barr's public record of bias against the special counsel's inquiry, he is not a neutral observer, and he is not in a position to make objective determinations about the report. Thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're looking at the Democrats still trying to play politics. Yes, they did answer the questions about obstruction as well. And it wasn't just Barr making that decision. Rosenstein agreed with him in that, looked at that. Also attorneys over at the Attorney General's office. So I think it's time that we move forward. Attorney General Barr is looking at all the options that he can bring forward. You want to make sure that you protect and follow the law. Are they asking the Attorney General to break the law and release everything right now without scrubbing it for those points that shouldn't be? They're protecting America from what they should see and what they should not see. I think he's moving forward, and to be able to react this fast after receiving it on Friday, to get the synopsis out to the American public to know that there was no collusion, no obstruction. Now it's the time to move forward, and nobody had doubt about how much resources, how much time, and how thorough of investigation. This will go down in history as one of the most thorough investigations by any government entity. Now let's move forward.
Do you think that the legal threat is completely behind the president, with the open investigation still and the Southern District of New York still pending?
This should answer the question once and for all. I don't know how much further they can go, Brett. 2,800 subpoenas, 40 FBI agents. They went to 13 different countries, 500 witnesses, 22 months, $25 million. Nobody could be able to look this far and get this much information, and they came back with a very clear answer that America wanted to know. Did this Trump campaign collude with Russia? And the answer is very clear: no.
Do you think that you're in the minority in part because of this action?
I think there's a lot of reasons why we may have lost the majority, but to raise this doubt, and really when we look back at this, those Democrats who raised issue, those Democrats who sat back and said they had proof 2 years ago when they did not, to put the American public forward, I think history will not be kind to them. History will not support the idea of what they just put America through going for the last 22 months. Now they'll be testing, can they put the country first instead of putting their politics first?
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Breaking news tonight, the delivery of the special counsel Robert Mueller's report to the Attorney General We want to get some perspective from some of the very best legal minds in the country. There is no one that we would rather have with us tonight than Victoria Tinsing, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Criminal Division of the Justice Department, Joe DeGenova, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, founding partners of DeGenova and Tinsing Law Firm. First, I just want to say to both of you, this is, has been a 2-year process. I began the broadcast by saying the long national nightmare is over, perhaps I should say all but over. Victoria, your reactions on the report and what we do know, for example, that there will be no further indictments and that the indictments themselves that did take place, the vast majority of them were of Russians.
Well, I'm looking at Chucky Shifty Schumer and how the Democrats are now going into another direction. He came out, and this is what the Democrats do, and sets a bar that he knows that cannot be met. And as you discussed earlier, there are categories of information that if they are in that report cannot be revealed. One of them is classified, another's grand jury 6E, another's you mentioned was people who were not indicted. They can't be discussed. But here's the important one, Lou, and that's executive privilege information. The White House gave up all the documents, didn't fight it anything on privilege. And now Rudy and Jay must be allowed to review that report and make sure there's no executive privilege information. And Shifty Chucky knows that, but that's why he's putting out the bar. It should just be turned over immediately. The lawyers in the White House should not be able to see it. He knows what he's setting up.
The two specific issues that I think we could certainly use some clarification on. One is the presence of some sealed indictments in federal court that may pertain to the case, but it's unclear to me certainly exactly what the likelihood is that they pertain in any meaningful way. Your assessment of that, Victoria?
Well, we don't. This is just thought police by ABC News who puts out the story. Well, there's a lot of sealed indictments in the District of Columbia. Maybe some of them are connected to Mueller's investigation. It was just, I thought it was bad journalism.
And Joe, the other issue, of course, is what are we to make of the fact there will be no further indictments?
Well, this ball game is over. Grand slam, home run for the president. The bottom line is Mueller would have never delivered the report if there are other indictments, which of course there aren't, sealed or unsealed. The fascinating thing to me was to read the letter that Attorney General Bill Barr sent to Capitol Hill. It was a slap in the face to Schiff and Schumer and Pelosi. I got the report. There's nothing in it, basically, is what he said. He said, and the most important thing was, he says, it requires me to tell you whether or not the department refused to allow any indictments. There were no such instances, he said. In fact, the fact that the report, he said he could brief them as early as this weekend on the contents of the report leads me to believe that they are popping champagne at the White House. Of course, they're going to get a chance to see it before it's sent to the Hill, and they should, for the reasons that Victoria said about executive privilege and classified information and other things. But this is a great day for the president. He beat them. He beat them all, and Schumer is going to continue to pound. And if they do, if Schumer and Schiff and Pelosi continue to do this, they're going to lose the House.
Yeah, it's interesting, and to see Schumer, as I pointed out earlier in the broadcast, he was about as hangdog as I've ever seen the man. Obviously, somewhat despondent about what he perceives, at least, to be the contents of the special counsel report. I'd like to share with the audience the letter from Attorney General Barr to the chairs of Judiciary in both the House and Senate and ranking members. The last graph in particular, in which he wrote, finally, the special counsel regulations provide that the Attorney General may determine that public release of this notification would be in the public interest. I have so determined, and I will disclose this letter to the public after delivering it to you. Going beyond the letter, as you mentioned, Joe, Victoria, this sounds like the Attorney General, listening to the President, call for transparency means to be as transparent as possible.
Oh, of course he will. And it was wise of the president to say, I want transparency. But he doesn't. I am sure Rudy and Jay are saying, but not executive privilege stuff,
Right.
sir.
Right. And classified, and as you say.
The other.
And you know, Joe, if you feel like speculating, what do you think are the next steps here? I would just like to get a sense of, in the judicial process,
Sure.
does the president get a ringing endorsement from this? I know it's inferred. I know that we can speculate about it. But to what degree will this president be able to, salute and say, as I said, it was a witch hunt and there was never any collusion?
100% be able to say it. And here's the thing. Bill Barr, we now have a real attorney general. This is what one looks like.
Yep.
Bill Barr will impanel a federal grand jury to investigate the leaks, the unmaskings, the leaks of classified information from the National Security to National Security Council to smear people, the illegal FISA warrants, the violation of the civil rights by people in the DOJ, the Obama DOJ and FBI who were acting under color of law. Remember that phrase. Those people, all those senior law enforcement people were acting under color of law. Sally Yates, John Carlin, the head of the National Security Division,
Right.
McCabe, Strzok, Comey, they all acted under color of law. So did Brennan. There's going to be a federal grand jury to look into all of this. The president can sit back and watch real criminals be investigated.
And one thing, Lou, what Tom Fitton was talking about, the president will now be free without his lawyer saying, oh, my God, they might accuse you of a crime if you release all of that classified information. He will now be free to do so. So it will loosen that vice.
Get the FISA stuff out now.
And Victoria and Joe, thank you both for being here on this historic evening.
Thank you, Lou.
It's remarkable, and we're deeply grateful to you for, as always, your analysis and perspective on matters this big in history and law. Thanks so much.